Welcome everyone to the in-class instructional assistant training. So glad you could join us this afternoon. I know a lot of you are already on your Christmas vacation, so welcome. First, I'm just going to ask everyone a quick question. Did you all receive your training manuals that we sent via FedEx? So you can just give us a green check or red X or type yes. Okay, that works. So you might want to have your training manual handy during this session because we will be referring to it. It looks like this. It's a binder. So we hope you all got it. Looks like you did. With the other goodies as well. All right. Oh, there we go. So this is our agenda for today. We'll start with introductions. We'll go over how to use the Blackboard platform that we're in this afternoon. What is UPACE? We'll go over your roles of an instructional assistant. We'll explore Moodle and go over the final project guidelines. I'll tell you a little bit about your office hours that you'll be holding with your students, and then we'll have a to-do list and answer questions at the end. So we're going to start with introductions. So I guess I'll start. I'm Maria Chambers, and I am the Exiting in-Class Project Coordinator. I've been working with this program for the past 2 years, and I've just accepted a position at another center, so I'll be transitioning at the end of January. And so I will lead it over to Alicia.
Hey everybody, my name is Alicia Batteroni-Cortez, and I am the project manager, one of the project managers for NASA Community College Aerospace Scholars. And I will introduce the other project manager who is not with us here today, but I'm sure will hear from her in the future. That's Ms. Kayla Lepler. She's out on leave for the holidays, but the two of us will be working with you over the next couple of months. So welcome. We're really excited to have you.
All right, and our next person is Catherine Graves, and so do you have your mic on, Kathy?
Yes, I've got my mic.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Graves, and I'm going to be helping out. I'm one of the supervisors from Oklahoma State University, and as Maria transitions out, I'm going to kind of help out and fill in until we can get another education specialist.
All right, welcome, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. All right, so now we're going to let all of you introduce yourselves to the group. So how we'll do this is we'll just raise our hands, and the first person that raises their hand will go first, and you'll tell us your name, what school you teach at, your grade level, your subject taught, and then tell us a fun fact about yourself. And make sure that you do hit the talk button, and if you have video, try to use your video as well. So everyone, let's raise your hands. It's the third box right there at the top. Except for Kathy and us, because we already went. Okay, so it looks like Mike, you're up. You can go ahead.
Okay. It looks like I have my mic on, so I'm just going to go ahead. My name is Mike Townsend. I teach at Castle Hills First Baptist School. I do grades 7 through 12, so I do 7th grade math, algebra, and algebra 2. And the fun fact is my robotics team is getting ready to go to competition on the 10th of January.
Thank you, Mike. All right, next we have Amanda.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Blau, and I teach at Corpus Christi School in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. I teach 4th grade, all subjects. And a fun fact about me is that I've wanted to work for NASA for a long time, so I'm really excited to do this.
Well, we're excited to have you on the team. All right, next we have Karen Wilson.
Hi all, I'm Karen Wilson. I am in Dallas, Texas. I teach in Richardson, Texas, and actually I'm not in the classroom anymore. I'm one of the science specialists for secondary science. This is my 3rd year in that position, but prior to that I was an 8th grade science teacher. Prior to that I was a 4th grade science teacher, so I've sort of worked my way up. Fun fact about me, I've done NASA things for the past couple of summers. This is my second go-around as an instructional assistant for NCOS, so I'm really excited to be back.
All right, thank you. All right, next we have Gregory. Gregory, are you there? Are you ready?
Daisy is here.
Introductions. So we'll start. We'll let Nakia go, then Gregory, and then we'll end with Daisy. So Nakia, you can go ahead.
Hi, my name is Nakia Moffitt. I live in Houston, Cypress, Texas. I teach in Cypress Fairbanks Independent School District at Aragon Middle School. I teach algebra for 8th grade. I also teach at Lone Star College, introductory to algebra. A fun fact, I am a parent to a 15-year-old who is in driver's ed, and it's driving me insane.
I bet that can be an adventure. All right, next we have Gregory. Make sure that
I'm Gregory Reeves. Okay. I'm Gregory Reeves. I am an engineering teacher at Elkins High School, Missouri City, Texas. And a fun fact, I'm also a basketball coach as well, so I coach basketball, and I teach 9th through 12th grade engineering.
All right, thank you, Gregory. All right, and we'll end with Daisy. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Daisy McLaurin. I teach 3rd grade. I am a self-contained 3rd grade teacher, so that means I teach every class. And a fun fact for me is that they drive me crazy, but it's okay.
Well, at least you have a break from them for a little bit. So. We're going to move on, and we're going to start with our Blackboard tutorial, and we're going to show you how to use the interface, and because you'll be using it with your students. All right, we're going to mute your microphones during this section, so if you could just hit the talk button to turn your mics off, that would be great. All right, so first we have 3 panels here, and these are important because we have the audio and video panel at the top. We have our participant panel, and then we have the chat window. So when we're holding sessions with the students, it's really important that we make sure they're aware of all of these sections and they know how to use all of these sections. So, all right, so you can go ahead. We're going to split this piece of the training up so that you don't get too bored just hearing one voice and seeing one face all the time. So as Maria mentioned, we use this platform called Blackboard Collaborate, and it's a tool that you can use to work with your students, that you will be using to work with your students, and how we deliver the live web chats with the students, with the NASA experts as well. And all of our recruitment, we use this tool for a lot of different things, so we wanted you to know how to use it and get comfortable with it so that you can lead your own sessions. In that top panel, audio and video, you've already used it today by introducing yourself, so you realize that talk button kind of works like an on-off button, turns your mic on, turns it off, and the video button allows you to transmit video by clicking that. Often, if you're having some bandwidth issues and it seems like you're the connection's coming over slow or you're getting delays, you can turn off your video, and that'll help reduce the amount of bandwidth that you're using in transmitting. The other thing that you may want to do, specifically for if you're going to be switching computers or using different devices to access Blackboard, is to access this little icon, which looks like a microphone with a red gear on the top of it. And that is your audio and video setup.
And so it's a little wizard that will test your microphones and your speakers to make sure that you can hear and see, or that you can hear and be heard. So I always recommend that you run through that before you lead a session. Okay, and
yeah, so this is just the audio and video panel, and so you just need to make sure that when you're talking you hit the talk button, and when you're not talking you unclick it. And you'll know it's on because you'll see the microphone icon right here. Same thing for your video. You'll see the video icon when your video is on. So here we have the participants panel. You'll see you'll be listed. It'll say instructor, it'll say student, but most of the time it'll just have the student's name here. And this just lets them know how many people are in the room and who's attending. So we will tell the students that when they log on to the Blackboard sessions that they sign in with their first and last name so you know who is joining your office hours when you hold them. The participant window allows your audience to interact with you in a variety of ways. And so we're going to look at each of the 4 buttons that allow for that interactivity, which all should appear underneath your name. There's a series of 4 buttons. The first looks like a little face, and so that is a emoticon that you can choose. And I'm going to ask each of you to pick one of those right now. So if you hover your mouse over that, you'll see a list of things that you can choose from. You can have a smiley face, a laugh out loud, applause, confusion, a thumbs up, thumbs down. And so that allows your audience to kind of let you know how they're feeling at the moment. So if you look over in the participant window right now, Kathy Graves is smiling, Gregory Reeves is approving, so Amanda's also smiling. And so that kind of, you'll see the icon pops up underneath the person's name, and it just is there for a few seconds and then it goes away. But that's a quick way to get a read of your audience or just kind of monitor how people are doing in that participant window. The next button over is something that we ask those students to do during a session, particularly if you're having a lot of interaction. And so it's just an away button. It's just a way for the participants to tell you, the moderator, if they've had to step away from their computer for some reason. The door rang, the dog's barking, they need to leave for a moment. So that way, if you click that button, which I'm going to ask you all to do right now, you'll see how that looks in the chat window. It'll put a little clock in the word away in red underneath your name. And so for you as the instructor, it will allow you to see that someone has stepped away, and so if you're waiting for a response from somebody or calling on somebody, you know that they're not going to be answering you. And so the way that you come back is to click that button a second time. So come on back, don't go away. There we go. Come on back, Red. Click it a second time. And that is just a nice little tool to keep track of everybody. The next one over, the little hand, this is often a point of confusion, so I'm going to make sure that you know what this is used for. So if you click this button, it does not indicate applause. That's back over on the first button. And so some people get excited and they wanna clap their hands, and so they see the hand and they think hand, so they click it, and then they're embarrassed because a big red number appears next to their name, and in some cases you hear a ding as well. So what that does is that raises your hand. It puts your hand up in the air. So everybody put your hands up in the air like you really don't care. Okay, so we have, if you look in the participant window, you can see that Amanda was quick to click on the draw. She was the very first one to raise her hand, and you know this because underneath her name is a number 1. Karen was second, Kathy third, Daisy fourth, and so on and so forth. And so this is just a way, if you have a lot of students in your group, to manage what order you're going to take questions and answers. Yes, you can use the chat window and just try and keep up with them and take the questions as they come via the chat window, but it can be really distracting to have that going back and forth and trying to keep up with that. And so rather than trying to follow everybody in the chat, we recommend you ask them to raise their hands, and that way it also gives students a chance to pre-type their question so it's ready to go when you call on them. And that just makes the things go a little bit smoother instead of just calling on people and expecting them to be ready with their question or their answer. Our final box is a
polling feature. And so this can be changed to multiple choice as well, like A through B, C answer, A through D, A through E answer. And it can also be a yes, no. And so right now it's hit to yes, no. And if you hover over that, you will see that you can pick either a green check for a yes or a red X for a no. So please demonstrate that you are able to do this by hovering over there and giving me a green check that you understand. And once you do that, we can move on. Whoops, okay, very good. All right, I'm just lowering some hands here so that we're all cleared and back to the beginning. Nicely done, everybody. All right, so that is your participant window and the 4 ways that people can use it to interact with you as the instructor. And now Maria will tell you about the chat panel.
All right, so the chat panel here at the bottom. This is for you to type questions when it's time to ask questions, or a lot of times if the students are having some issues using the technology, they can type here also as well. You'll also see there is an emoticon symbol, so there's lots of different symbols that you can use. If there's filling things, you can put, show an icon for what you ate today, or, random things. There's sports icons too. So that's just something fun that you can show the students when they're getting to use it. So, all right. Okay. The next part is the whiteboard and the tools. And so the whiteboard is the main presentation area. So if there are slides or things to look at, this is where the content would be displayed. But students also have the ability to interact with the content on the whiteboard. So there's a variety of tools on there. You can point at things. You can actually draw on the whiteboard and pick different colors. And so if you wanted to do that, so like right now, I just selected let's see if I can make it a purple ink in which to make a lot of drawings around the number 3 item. There's also a text tool, so you could actually put a text box on the whiteboard and type some stuff in there. And you can be creative in the ways that you use or choose not to use these. You can put shapes, you can draw lines, you can even do a screenshot. So if you're having a discussion and there's questions or there's pictures or something that you want to save on the whiteboard, you can take a screenshot of it and save that. And then finally, there is a clip art tool at the very bottom, which if you click that and go to the Common Symbols tab, gives you a variety of symbols to choose from, which can be stamped in any place on the whiteboard. So I can choose a pencil and then just stamp it down. So I don't think we've asked you any ways that you can use this. So I would like you right now to just choose one of these tools to play around with for a moment, and let's decorate the whiteboard in some way. Maybe you're happy that you're on break for the holidays and you want to indicate that in some way. Or perhaps you even want to try one of the emoticons in the chat window. Go for it. We'll give you a minute here to go ahead and just play with some of these tools for a moment. And while this is happening, if you look in the, why are you poking them? Me too. If you look in the participant window, you'll notice that there are little pencil marks, and then they change colors, so they might be red. Red means that the person is drawing something, but it's taking a minute to actually render onto the screen. Yellow means that it's going to be there soon, and if it's just a plain old pencil, it means that they're in the process of drawing something. All right, so I can see that you've had a little bit of fun there. I don't think I saw anybody try a text box though. No. All right. Well, maybe next time. All right. So anyhow, this is just another way that your students can interact with you during a session. So that pretty much wraps up our overview of Blackboard Collaborate. And in the back of your binder, the very last section, if you go to your binder, section 8, there is a one-page guide, just kind of a quick reference for you, so that when you do use Blackboard, it gives you some tips and some suggestions for that. So feel free to review that before you do hold your office hours sessions.
I'm going to pause now and see if there are any questions related to Blackboard. If you do have a question, please raise your hand. If you do not have a question, go ahead and give me a green check mark to show that you're ready to move on to hear about UPACE. Ready to hear about UPACE, Maria.
All right. So you've heard this word. I'm sure you've seen it a few times, probably wondering what it is. So we're going to go ahead and learn about it. So this is an instructional method that we use in the online course. And part of UPACE is using, if you use effective communication, then you're going to get student success. And so it's based on mastery-based learning. There are a few different components to the UPACE model. And so I'm going to go over how it promotes student success. So there's core components. There's amplified assistance, and there's mastery-based learning. And so part of your role will be providing that amplified assistance. You're going to be communicating with your group of students through email with personal communication, and you're going to be contacting your students frequently. So you're going to need to be responding to their emails within a 24-hour period. Now, if you want to turn to Section 6 of your Instructional Assistant Manual, you will see that we have a whole section of templates, message templates, that you can refer to when you're sending messages to your students. It's right there on in the binder. And so the mastery-based learning is with each module, the students are going to take a 10-question quiz. They'll have 8 minutes to complete it, and they must score at least a 90% or above in order to move on to the next module. They do have to wait an hour in between taking the quiz, so that if they don't pass the first time, they have to wait an hour to take it again. So that during that hour period, that would give them enough time to study the material again. So after you provide them with that assistance, you're telling them if they did pass the first time, Susan, you're doing a great job, keep up the great work, go ahead and move on to Module 2. Or if the student didn't pass, you could say, I noticed that you missed some questions about Mars geology. Go back to this section and reread it. So that's how you're providing amplified assistance. The students aren't coming to you first, you're coming to them first and providing them that support. And then the mastery-based learning is earning at least that 90% on the quizzes. So by communicating with the students, providing that feedback, their perceived control over learning is going to increase, which is going to promote greater learning and academic success. And we did implement this past year for the first time, and we did increase our retention rate in the online course. So your piece in this course is very important for student success. Do you have anything else?
The only thing I would add is that the templates that we provide are just that, they're templates. They're not meant for you to copy and paste, exactly and just change the name. They're meant as a guide for you. You can modify them, change them, really give your own voice to it, because it's going to come across much more authentic that way. We don't want you just, mimicking exactly what it is. Here, it's just really meant to give you the basic structure and the basic idea behind the positive, sort of encouraging nature of the messages and the types of things that you would want to include in those messages. You can copy and use that, paste it into a message and then modify it. But certainly, just, read it. Don't just say, oh, this is week 1, copy, paste, send. Definitely put your own spin on it.
Okay. Before we move on, we're going to have Karen Wilson share some of her success and some tips from the online coursework from her past experience. So Karen, would you share a few words?
I will. I'm going to start by saying, kind of piggyback on what Alicia was saying regarding the don't copy and paste. Whatever you write to the kids or the students, I would say go ahead and save for yourself, because what happens today for Karen might happen tomorrow for Alicia, type of thing. And so then you don't have to recreate the wheel every time. So that's a great way to kind of have a file folder of, here are some templates, or here are my own templates that I've made, and use those. The UPACE system is great because it gives you a whole lot of information to spring from to be able to send the kids the messages that are super encouraging. I have 2 college students myself right now, and as freshmen, they don't hear a whole lot of interaction with the instructor, and for us to be able to give feedback to the students is huge. So for sure, this is a huge chunk of it's somebody watching them, and nobody generally watches them freshman year. No one watched me my freshman year, I can tell you that. One thing I did last semester with this program, the INCOS program, is I made a spreadsheet of all my students' names, and you'll get your students' names, and you can just copy and paste it into a spreadsheet, so it's not like you have to type everyone's names individually. But using that spreadsheet and just adding new columns so that you would have, you know, here's the a session that they listened to that was a webinar, and put who listened and who didn't listen, or who contacted you and said they couldn't stay and or they had to, you know, they have a class conflicting or something. Kind of watching grades, and here I color coded my grades, either red they didn't make it, green they made it, that kind of thing, so that just you have a fast reference, because you're going to have a lot of students in addition to your own students, and it's an easy way to keep maintaining. The feedback aspect, I just can't say enough about it. We do that within our district, and it's a huge piece that that encouragement piece just keeps them going. To have that formative assessment helps steer the direction they need to go, and you will get a whole lot of thanks from those students. I was very impressed with all that. Maria, I'm going to ask you if there's anything else that's in particular that you'd like me to say, because I could probably go on and on. Hey, y'all, little Blackboard was good. Your little Blackboard tutorial was good.
Thank you, Karen. That's all I can think of for now, but if you have anything you want to throw in as we're going, feel free. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and move on. So here are the student assignments that your students will be completing. So like I said before, there are 3 quizzes, 1 per module, and each quiz is 10 questions. They have 8 minutes to take it. There's 1 final project, and you'll see that in your manual, Module 1 is located in Section 3, Module 2 is Section 4, and Module 3 is Section 5. So that's where you can find all the chapters with the information. There is 1 final project, and the final project can be found in Section 7. Students must earn a 90% or higher in order to move on to the next module. They can take the quiz as many times as needed, and then they must earn a 70% or above in order to pass the course. So the role of an instructional assistant. So what will you be doing? You'll be monitoring a group of 50 to 60 students. You'll be providing feedback through email on how they're doing on the quizzes, as well as the weekly reminder emails about upcoming modules. You'll be holding office hours using this Blackboard platform, and we've given you some dates on the calendar, which the calendar can be found in Section 1, and it has all the important dates, like when we hold the office hours, when the webinars are, and all of that. You'll be using the rubrics to grade the final project. We will have 2 sessions where we'll meet as an INCOS team, and you can ask us questions and get feedback and all of that during those meetings. And then you'll be providing feedback on the final project components when the students submit them early. So just one thing to think about is giving the students praise and encouragement is going to equal student success. So it's just something to think about when you are sending them emails, and you know they are going to respond back to you, and we just want to make sure that we're responding to them within 24 hours. Do you want to take turns? Sure. Okay. So if you take some time to read through that the INCOS message templates, you'll get a sense for kind of the timing of how the emails should go out. So there's sort of 2 categories of messages that you will send. There'll be general emails that will go out to your whole group at the same time, 1 per week, 1 that welcomes them, and then each week to kind of tell them what that week's work is. And then you will have the individualized messages that you'll send to each student each week. And those will be based on the
progress that you're monitoring, which we're going to show you in a few minutes on how you'll go in behind the scenes in the Moodle platform to see how the students are doing, what questions they're getting wrong, and what feedback you can provide them with. And so this is also in your binder, but there's sort of a basic structure to how the UP emails should look. You know, that include a personal greeting of the student, making sure you're using their first name, emphasizing the positive that you can find in them so far, giving them some specific advice based on their quiz scores, based on where they are in the project, and then again ending with a positive note. And so I hope you've had a chance to read the welcome letter that we put in the binder for you. That really sort of characterizes the type of support that you need to provide for these students. As I mentioned in the letter, these are not your typical college students. And so kind of the typical attitude, which Karen really kind of summarized rather well, I thought. College freshmen, you know, when students start their higher education, they're often just sort of thrown in there in the sort of conventional wisdom, well, it's sink or swim, and that's how students learn, and that's how you learn to advocate for yourself and take care of yourself and become an adult. And so what this model does is it sort of throws that conventional wisdom out the door. That conventional wisdom works great for conventional students. Students who have a support network, students who have family members that have done this before that kind of know how to navigate the system. Those are not our students. You may have some who are like that, but for the most part, the students that we're working with don't have any kind of a support network at home, in their family, in their friends. They are often the pioneers in terms of pursuing higher education in their families and in their social groups. And so you are really their network. And so we hope that you will be that person in the student's path that really believes in them and shows them that they can do this work, and will help them actually get into the door here at NASA into a face-to-face workshop where they can be even more blown away by all the great things that we're doing here. So we really do see you as their lifeline during the 5-week course. And as Karen mentioned too, I think they're also a really grateful group of students, and so you will probably get messages, you know, somewhat, in many cases, very personal messages from the students who are grateful and really appreciate the fact that you've reached out and that you've demonstrated this belief in their ability to do something good. And Karen's saying they're so appreciative, yeah.
Yes, they really are. All right, so now we're going to start with the Moodle tutorial. I'm going to ask you a poll question. Give me a green check if you've already received your login or you've actually logged in to the Moodle website. Red X if you have no idea what I'm talking about. Oh, someone does. Okay. Okay, so 5 of you have, and 1 of you haven't. Who hasn't? Okay, so we'll follow up with Daisy and Gregory on why you haven't. So you should have received an email from notices@spacegrant.net, and they, in that email, it would tell you that your username for this website is your email address, and we'll type the link in the box for you, so if you want to go to this while we're going over the tutorial and kind of see where I'm talking about. And then you'll hit request or forgot username or password, and it'll actually email you a password. Sometimes it does go to your junk or spam mail, so just make sure you're checking that just in case. So I'm typing it in the box for you here if you want to go to it. I would check your spam or junk mail, Greg. That way, if you didn't receive it. Okay. So you'll see this login page when you log in. This is our home screen. And on the home screen, you'll see it has the in-class introductions. We have Module 1, Module 2, Module 3, the final project. And then later on, you'll have your own section also, which I'll go over in a little bit. Okay, so this is very important, especially for all the instructors. Section 6, it'll say Instructional Assistance. This is only visible to the instructors, which is all of you. It contains all the digital files that are in your binder. There's a message board for where you can chat with each other if you have a question about, grading, or you just want to share ideas, that type of thing. That's a place where you can message and the students won't see it. There's also a link to the UPACE training. We want you to go online and take this 20-minute training. The link is there. We also have the link on our slides too, in case you can't get inside Moodle yet. But this is a resource center, and we want you to use it, and you can access all those files there. Okay. So all of the content is meant to be accessed online through the students. So the students come in, they come into their course, they see those modules laid out just like Maria showed you. We wanted to provide you with a hard copy of everything in that binder so that you're not dependent on accessing your computer to actually read through that stuff. It's got all of the material that the students have to read, and so sections 3, 4, and 5 have all that reading for modules 1, 2, and 3. Module 1 is the longest of all the modules, and so we kind of put the heavy part at the beginning. We think it's a good challenge for the students to start off, and then it gets easier from there. So it'll help you write those first, module 1 emails. It's like, all right, you got through the first module. That's the hardest module, so you're doing great. You can do the next one. It'll be a piece of cake if you got through module 1. And so this is the only module that actually has 2 sections: Mars missions from 1964 to 2001, and then Mars missions 2001 to 2011. And all told, I want to say it's around 50 pages, but that includes it includes images, it includes links and things like that as well. So you can take a look in your binder to see what the content is. They have a quiz that they need to take at the end of it. Again, 10 questions. They have 8 minutes to do it. The questions all pull from a question bank. And each time they take the quiz, the questions will be in a different order. The answers will even be in a different order. And so we'll talk a little bit in terms of, for you as an instructional assistant, how you can help your students find out where they need to target their studies when you're doing the analysis of their quiz results. And then for each of the modules, there is also one live chat with a NASA expert. And so for module 1, who is it? I can't remember.
It's Stuart McClung.
Stu McClung, who will talk about the Orion test that we just had a couple of weeks ago, and what we're learning from that, and the future plans for Mars exploration using Orion and the Space Launch System. And that is module 1. And so those webinars, as we mentioned, they are live events. They will probably be in the afternoon time range. We find that works best with the student schedules. And they are all recorded. So the students who can't make it, because let's be honest, not all of them will be able to make all of the webinars, they will get a chance to view the recording of the webinar, and that gets posted in the Moodle as well. All right, so now we're going to move on to Module 2. Module 2 is based on future Mars missions, so it starts in 2011, goes to the future. It's only 1 chapter, it's not very long. There's 1 quiz, and then there will be a webinar also in that section, and it'll most likely be on curiosity. So this section does have a separate part. The students will actually submit their personnel and outreach plan from their final project, and you'll just provide feedback to the students on that. So you'll read what they wrote, score what they would score on that part of the rubric, and then you can type in some comments. And I'll show you how to do that when I show you how to go behind the scenes and access all of that. So they'll submit that extra piece if they want feedback on that part. Module 3, it's just on Mars geology. Again, it's just 1 chapter, 1 quiz, and then we will have a webinar with a subject matter expert about Mars geology. Then this section, the students can also submit their abstract and timeline early to get feedback from you. And so you'll just use those sections of the rubric to score it and then type in some comments.
So before we start talking in detail about the final project, let's just pause and see if there are questions about the 3 modules, the quizzes, and the web chat. If you don't have a question, give us a green check. If you do, raise your hand. Okay, Amanda, go ahead with your question. Either push your talk button or type it in the chat window. Amanda, where are you? Do you have a question, Amanda? I see your mic is on. Let me turn mine off and make sure it's not interference here. Okay, the question is, do you give them the score on the rubric or do you use that as a guide to help them?
So you would give them a score on those 2 sections only, and then you would give them some feedback as well. So if they were missing a certain component of the outreach plan, then they would know by the score you gave them that they need to work on that section.
Yes, that they would have an opportunity to improve that section before they turn it in on the final date. So it gives them a chance to respond to the feedback that you provide, and you would rescore it for the final grade. Good question. Thanks for asking, Amanda. Other questions before we move on? I know I see a lot of green checks, but we'll just give you that. Maybe that made you think of something else. Raise your hand if you do. Okay, then the final project, if you go to your binder, there is a section 7, and the first part of the section is a description that the students receive. And so it gives the, and this is actually going to be slightly modified. What they see, this is from last time, and so one of the changes that we made for this spring session is that this whole rescoring thing. So in the last session, they didn't touch their final project until the very end, and that was difficult for a lot of the students, and it was difficult for the instructors to have so much to grade at once. And so by breaking up the final project into some chunks that they can do early, we hope that that will make it less overwhelming for the students when it comes time to do the final project, and we hope that it will give you a better quality product in the end to grade. So those changes are reflected in the copy of the, thanks Karen. Those changes are reflected in the copy that will be in Moodle, and so the one that's in your binder is a little bit old, we'll say. So you might want to just pencil mark on there that, that this will be updated in the Moodle, and you'll be able to see the updated version when you log in. But essentially it gives a description of each of the pieces of the final project and what needs to be turned in. And so you have the mission proposal, which consists of the abstract, which is just a overview of the whole mission as a whole, a timeline, the personnel, if they were going to have a company or hire people to actually carry out this mission, job descriptions, titles, and educational background requirements. They add a outreach component, which describes what they would do to promote public awareness of their mission, and then the 3D model of their rover. And so that's probably the most challenging piece for the students, is the 3D model of the rover. And we're fairly lenient in what we accept for their models there. So we recommend, if they don't have access to modeling software on their campus, we recommend that they use Google SketchUp, which is now called SketchUp Pro. or they can use Autodesk 123D, and both of those are free software downloads. We also, some community college faculty from one of our local colleges here in Texas described the ability of PowerPoint to do 3D models. Now some of the newer versions of PowerPoint have some fancier drawing tools, and so we can even accept PowerPoint drawings. So if your students are struggling in that area, they've got at least 3 resources that they can go to, and most school computers will have the Microsoft Office suite that they can use to create that. And so it's a little bit tricky because there are these 3 parts basically. There's the mission proposal is 3D model, and then the description of their model. And so all of those pieces get put together in a Word document. And so even though they might be using these software programs to make their model rover, they're going to take a screen capture of that, or a screenshot, or an image capture of that, and paste it into the Word document along with all of the other bits and pieces, which are all text. And so that is probably something you'll get a lot of questions on. We also hope to offer some tutorials on how to use these pieces of software, and so we have some existing presentations that we hope to be able to offer some support in a live event for the students as well, 1 or 2 times towards the end of the course. What else do we need to say about this final project? Later. Okay, so there'll be, I think there's a couple more things about the final project we'll talk about later in the presentation.
All right. So now we're going to go over the behind the scenes, and if you are able to get in Moodle and you kind of want to practice while I'm showing you, you can also do that. So you'll, once you log in, you'll see a navigation toolbar on the left side. And so I'm going to show you how to send messages to individual students, and then I'll show you how to send messages to your entire group. So you'll click on Participants under the navigation tool. No, you won't see any students yet, but this is just where you'll go. So you won't have students until January 5th. So this gives you an idea of what to do when you get your students. So that's why we sent you the slides so you can refer to this later on. So you'll click on Participants. You'll see your students. You'll see their names, their email, all this information, and you'll see these boxes. So if I just want to email Chance, for example, I'm just going to click on this box and it'll put a check mark there. And so after it puts the check mark there, then then you'll click in this box here, send a message. So now that's just to send one student a message. You don't have to click every single box to send your entire group a message. You're going to go down here, and for example, if there's 76 students in your group, which there won't be, but if there were, you would hit Show All 76. And then you'll hit Select All. So you don't have to click it every time. You just click Select All, and then you go to the drop-down menu and then select Send a Message. So it's really easy to do, whether you want to send one person email or your entire group an email. One thing to keep in mind when you are sending messages, say you send a message to Kirsten. Well, it won't let you know that you sent a message to Kirsten because you can't go and see your sent messages. So what I did is I kept track on a spreadsheet what date I emailed everyone. So if I emailed everyone in my group the first message template for week 1, I put that I did that on January 5th. So that way I could keep track of it. Or if I sent a personal message to someone, I kept track of it. Because you can't go in your message log and see that. So that's just a tip to keep in mind when managing your messages. So the next thing that's really important is accessing the gradebook. You'll be accessing the gradebook when you're giving feedback in Module 2 and Module 3, and then also for the final project you'll be entering grades. The quizzes are graded automatically, so you don't have to grade those. So you'll go under the Administration tab, which is on the left side of the Moodle page. You'll click on Grades, and then you'll click on Visible Groups. and you need to find your last name. And then once you click on your last name, you'll see all the students in your group. You'll see Module 1 quiz, and then you can actually see all the scores there on what they scored, and then if you click the arrows that are right here, you can actually sort the grades highest to lowest. So you can see, oh, all of these kids made 190, so you notice in them, and then like a congratulations email. And then it'll show the lowest scores at the bottom, or you can sort it lowest to highest, however you want to do that. But that's just a quick tip on how to sort the grades. So the next part, we're going to go over the quiz question results and attempts. And so for this, you'll see the students' names, and it's that same page we were on in the grade book. You'll see that, for example, Muhammad made a 90, so he passed the quiz. But if the student didn't pass the quiz and you want to see what they missed, you're going to click on the magnifying glass. And that magnifying glass is going to show you exactly what the student missed or got correct. Once you click on that magnifying glass, you'll see the student's name, how many times they attempted the quiz, and you can actually click on each attempt. So I can click on attempt 1 and I click on attempt 2. You can see when they took the quiz, and you can see how much time it took them. For example, if the student has 8 minutes to take the quiz and you notice that it only took them 2 minutes, then some things that I would tell the student is, you know, you really need to spend a little bit more time reading the questions and the answer choices, because some students will rush through the quiz and not take enough time. So that's just one thing to keep in mind, is kind of look at the timing. It'll tell you the grade, and then we do have some feedback that's just automatic once they pass the quiz. If the students get the answer correct, it will be green and have a green check mark by it. If the answer is incorrect, it'll be red and it'll show the incorrect answer. It will not show the correct answer because the questions are random, so they could get that question again later on. Most likely they won't get the same questions every time. We have a big question bank, so it shuffles through the questions. If you want to refer to your manual, section 6, it's our quiz question topic matrix. So for example, if a student misses a question, this student missed a question about spirit and opportunity. So you could go to your question topic matrix and notice that spirit and opportunity are talked about in Module 1, and you can actually see the questions that they missed and tell them what section they need to go back and reread. So we made this tool for you to help you be able to respond to your students and tell them exactly what section that they need to reread so they can pass the quiz. Okay. Karen, do you have any feedback you'd like to provide about the matrix or providing feedback?
Yeah, I'm just going to say that that's an awesome tool. We did not have that last time, and so we had to go through all 3 modules if you didn't know where the information was and flip through to figure out where it was. But the kids are also very, very receptive to, oh, that's the section I need to read. So it's good information to give them what module it came from, what chapter it came from, moreover, and then they'll know what to study. And there are kids that will take this, a quiz 6, 7 times. And Maria, you're absolutely right. I have one student that took the quiz probably several times for about 2 or 3 minutes each, and I said exactly that you need to slow down and take your time because it'll help you. I didn't say it like that, obviously. I'm like, I notice that you're trying. Great perseverance. Yada, yada, yada. You're going to get some good verbiage on this. But, yeah, the matrix will help you a lot in steering the kids as to where to go.
Great. Thanks, Karen. All right. So this next part is on entering final project grades. So what you're going to do is you'll actually click on the final project mission proposal, which is in the last section. You'll click at the bottom, View Grade All Submissions. And then you'll click on the student's name. So for example, I've clicked on the student's name, Mary. You'll click on the pencil to submit for grading, and you'll actually input their score. So you'll look at the rubrics and you'll say, okay, Mary got a 70 out of 70, and so you'll just type in the score there. But there's also more to this page. So it'll show you when it is graded. It'll show you when they submitted it, like exactly what date. It'll show you their files. And then this part is where you're gonna type a comment. We would like for you to type comments to the students about their final project. Once you type your comment, it is important that you hit Save Comment. If you don't hit Save, it won't save it. Trust me, I know, I've done this before. It didn't save some of mine, and I had to go back and do it again. It's very time consuming. So make sure you save your comment, and then at the bottom, you'll hit Save Changes. And then this is where you would type in their score. So it's pretty easy to use, especially you'll have this tool, you have this slideshow to help you. You don't have to remember all this. You can refer back to it. So when you're grading their sections, giving them feedback on the sections that they're submitting, like for Module 2, they submit the Personnel and Outreach Plan. You'll do the same thing. You'll view their file, give them a score on that section, and type some comments. They don't get a real grade on that section, but it's just for you to give them feedback. Okay, so that was about the grade book and accessing behind the scenes. Does anyone have any questions about that so far? Okay, go ahead, Nikia.
Okay, I have a question about the emails. When you say you can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. You can't go back and see what you sent. Can you send yourself the email as well? Like, can you blind copy yourself, or just have your name on the emails that you send to individual students or to a group of students so it can come to you?
So I guess I should clarify that. So for example, if I send an email to Susan, I won't know that I sent an email to Susan until like she emails me again. I can see the history, but you just have to kind of keep track of it because it's not like a regular email inbox. It's within the system, so you can't see your sent messages unless you click on that person's name to see what you sent them. I'm not sure how you would send it to yourself. I don't think you can do that. So, but if you keep track of who you're sending messages to, you'll be able to know once they email you back. You can see all the messages that you sent them. All right, Karen, go ahead.
Two things. One of the things that I was doing is that I was using Word to type my messages, and then I would copy my message into the messaging system, the Moodle messaging system, so that way you sort of have a track of the emails that you send. You might be able to put yourself as a contact and send it always to you and to the student, but I'm not sure. I've never tried it like that. That's all. I was just saying that part.
Yeah, I haven't tried that either. You could always try it and see if it works. I mean, it's a good idea. So, all right. Well, we've already talked about the final project, so I have a few photos and things I'll go over for examples. We won't get into all the specifics, but you have all this information to look over. So if you do have questions later, you can always ask us. So I do have some photos here of some of the rover model examples that the students have created in the past, and they are all different in ability level, and that's okay. Like, some are going to be more advanced than other students because some students take AutoCAD classes and have engineering classes, and some don't. And we want you to realize that there is a difference, but as long as they're following the requirements on the rubric, then that's what we're looking for. So these are some different examples of different programs that they've used to create these. So if you want to refer to Section 7 in your manual, that's where you'll find the rubrics. And so I don't know if you've had time to look over the rubrics, but if you have, this is your time to ask us questions about that. All right. Yes, Greg, I emailed the PowerPoint and a PDF earlier. It was around 3 o'clock this afternoon. Did you receive that? Because otherwise we might have a different email on file. Then, yeah, since you didn't get the other either, could you type that in, like, personally? Okay, you will check. Okay, great. So no one has questions? We'll go ahead and move on to the next slide then. What is it? Okay, so Gregory, there is your email address, and let us know if that's not correct. Okay, so for your Blackboard office hours that you'll be holding with the students, we would like for you to refer to the Blackboard Moderator Quick Reference Guide. That's in Section 8, and we went over most of that earlier. We will have office hour templates for you to use if you would like for your slides, or you can create your own slides. And each one of you will get a URL for your office hours that you'll have your own page for that. So your office hours will be, you'll insert your office hour schedule there. You'll work with Kathy to schedule your office hours. And so we can talk with you later, Kathy, on how that will work. And really, the office hours is a time for you to be able to share some information about the online coursework, and then a time for the students to ask questions that they're having also. And if you refer to section, section 1, you'll see the instructional assistant calendar, and that tells you the times and dates where you can hold your office hours. Now, you don't have to hold the office hours at the same time as another instructor. You have your own page, so you can hold them whatever time you want. You just have to let your students know that. This is not the correct dates here, so sorry about that. It's in your calendar, so you can refer to your calendar. We say they need to be at least an hour long. If students have questions, they can be longer. And I think Alicia has something.
I just wanted to jump in and say that if your students are asking questions that you're not sure about the answers to, just make a note of those questions, jot them down, and send them to us so that we can get the correct answers to the students. I would rather you just tell them that you're not sure and that you're going to check on it and get back to them than make a guess at it and perhaps give them some misinformation.
All right, and so we do have like a sample slide that I show, which just says, welcome to in-class office hours. I always tell them to raise their hand if they have a question. You can, make your slides however you want for your group. So, all right. So we're going to go over your to-do list. It's kind of long. So mark your calendar for our 2 check-in meetings. The first one will be January 13th from 4 to 5 p.m. Central, and then the second one is January 26th from 4 to 5 p.m. Central. That's just a chance for you to check in and for us to see how things are going with the online coursework. Second one is the UPace online training module. We have the link there. It takes about 20 minutes to complete it. The link is also in the Moodle course as well. Make sure you go ahead and customizing your in-class Secrets to Success message for your students. You have plenty of time to do that because they don't get access till the 5th of January. Just find out a method for tracking your communication with your students. Maybe you want to keep a spreadsheet to keep track of it. That's usually the easiest. Or maybe you want to use a notebook, some other kind of tool you're used to using. Final project grading session. We're going to have a sample grading session where we all meet in Blackboard, and it's going to be during that January 13th meeting. So we're going to give you a final project to grade, and we're going to use the rubrics, and we're going to see if we all grade the same. So that will be January 13th. Hold on one second, Alicia.
So I see your question, Greg, about a conflict on the 13th. We'll see if we can make arrangements for you to get the information.
Okay. Let's see. And then make a schedule for like when you're going to answer students' messages, like during the day, how you're going to monitor their progress weekly, and then making sure you send that weekly reminder message. Is it still by each Wednesday? since we're starting the modules on
Mondays.
So sending weekly reminder messages should be each Monday instead of Wednesday because everything is due on Monday. Oh, you don't get home till 5, Daisy. Okay, so we might have to reschedule the time then for the check-in meetings. So we'll get back to you on that. Yes, thank you, Karen. So the students are all across the United States. So if I've held sessions at 10 p.m. before because there are kids on the opposite coast. So we typically like to do, I did during the week, I'd do office hours at night, but on the weekend I would do like 10 a.m. You know, or 11 depending on if I have students out in California. So it just depends on what time zone you're in. But weekend, usually students can do like morning. During the week, usually night works better. I mean, some of them work. It's just you're not going to have all of them attend anyways. But Karen, she did both night and early morning sessions and had success with that. So it just depends on your schedule. So, and this is just part of that is just from making sure you're providing personalized feedback weekly. If you're having any issues with students or concerns or having trouble getting the student to complete their work, please communicate with Kathy on that. So, and you'll be able to email her and all of that. The online office hours are here once between January 19th through 24th, twice January 26th through 30th, and then once February 2nd through 6th. And all of this you should have in your manual. Okay, so at this time, we'll go ahead and take questions or comments. You can type in the chat window or raise your hand. Yes, very good, Karen. It was on a need basis for the office hours. All students probably won't attend. You had one about the summer component. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Anyone else? I know we've kept you a few minutes longer, so I don't have anything else unless, yeah, you need to, yeah, once you get into Moodle and you're able to play around with it, that will really help, and you'll probably have more questions that come up with that. So. You're welcome, Karen, and thank you. So when will you send the initial welcome email, Nakia? You won't send that until the students begin the course on January 5th. So the students will not have a way, they won't have access until the 5th. And you actually won't probably have your student groups until the 5th either. So if you log in between now and the beginning of January, you're not going to see those lists of students like Maria was showing you in the example. You aren't going to get those until our IT folks take all the students, divide them into the groups, and then assign you your students. So yeah, it would be that first week in January. I just want to underscore the importance of your role again in making this session a success. We're really excited to be able to expand our efforts. This program is growing. This is the first time that we've had this many instructional assistants. I think we have a group of 6, right? Yes. And so I really encourage you to get to know each other once everyone is in that Moodle course and you're able to access that instructor message board. That's really for you to work with each other and share, good ideas, tips, suggestions, throw questions out there, share best practices.
I hope that you'll find, thank you for your enthusiasm, Karen. I believe, all right, I don't just hope or think, I believe that you will find this to be a very rewarding experience. As I mentioned, these are not your typical students, and so you're going to get in there into that middle course and look on the message boards where they'll start their own topics, and you're just going to be really impressed by the caliber of students that this program seems to attract. And in your role at making them believe in themselves is really important. Most of the students who come to this can't believe they've been accepted, they can't believe they've had this opportunity, and they feel like they're the stupidest one in the room. All of them feel that way. And so your job is to really make them understand that if they want this, if they do the work and they put in the effort and they give it their best, that they're going to do well. And that it's all within their control, that they can make this, one of the greatest experiences. And so I'm glad to hear that, Greg, that you have a student in another session, so that's great. And yes, Karen, I definitely agree. If you have a chance, it's not an official part of your assignment as an instructional assistant, but the students are able to put their own, start their own message boards or put their own topics in the message board, and it is very enlightening and does give you a lot of insight into the kinds of students that you're going to have. We call them kids, but they're really not kids. Some of them are. But you will have students that have come back to school after having a different kind of career, or who were homemakers for a period and are trying to get back into the workforce. You're going to have students that have families that they're supporting. There's single parents raising children, trying to better their careers, trying to do something better for themselves. And so it's really transformational for many of these students, and you are a key part of that role. And so Amanda's question is, do we get to go to the NET centers with the students? And I love the ambition in that question, Amanda. That's great. The answer right now is not a definite no. It's a yes. It's a yes if we can make some funding arrangements to make that happen. It's something that we'd really like to be able to offer to the instructional assistants to go to one of the workshops and act kind of as a counselor role. It would be probably another, it would be work. It wouldn't just be fun. But you would potentially, and again, not making any promises because it's not officially a position yet, but it's something that we'd like to work towards, bringing somebody to, at least one counselor to each of the sessions that would stay at the hotel with the students and be there, again, is just sort of that, person in charge that they can go to if they're running into trouble or having challenges or what have you, making sure they're behaving themselves as well. So more on that to come hopefully this spring. So again, thank you to all of you for coming on this journey with us, and we hope that you will get as much out of it as you put into it. So any final words, Maria?
Enjoy your holiday.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
and your break from the students. We look forward to working with you. So, and we'll get you guys, those of you who couldn't get in, who was it?
Daisy and Greg.
Daisy and Greg. We'll see what's happening with that and hope to get you access soon. So. Oh, you have it, Daisy. Okay, great. So it was just Greg. Okay. All right. Well, thanks so much for attending.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great night.
Greg, is there a way for you to know for sure if that's what's going on, or could you want to just get back to us and let us know?
Well, yeah, I'm going to email you on my personal email. I've been using the school email, so I think that's what it is. I can't access any of the spam folders or anything for their school. I don't think I've gotten the email since Friday, so I'm assuming that they shut down.
So your email is on vacation too, huh? All right, so yeah, if you can just send your personal email, or you could even do, if you don't want to clog up your personal email, what Karen did last time is she created an email on, like using Gmail, that was like Miss Wilson NCOS or something like that, so that she just used that strictly for this work. So she always went to that to get her messages and everything. So that's another option if you want to do that. But just let us know. Email Maria, and we'll work something out if it looks like your school server is going to be down indefinitely.
Mm-hmm.